بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدرك بعد الحمم ولا يناله غوص الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت معدود ولا أجل ممدود فطر الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالصخور ميدان أرضه والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين خاتم النبيين حبيب إله العالمين شفيع المذنبين رحمة للعالمين راحة للآشقين المخاطب بتها وياسين والله آسم جبريل خادم والبراق مركب والسدرة منتهى مقام الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد والصلاة والسلام ابن عمه ووسيه وصفية نجيبته وباب مدينة علمه وكتاب سفينة فهمه والكاشف عن كربي وبعثي والنائم في بيته ولباسه زينة المسجد والمحراب والمنبر ساقي السلسبيل والتسنيم والكوثر فاتح بدر وهنين وخيبر إمام المشركين ساجد القبلتين باء الباعتين والد الحسنين أسد الله الغالب مظهر العجائب والغرائب نقطة الدائرة المطالب مطلوب كل طالب غالب على كل غالب علي بن أبي طالب والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين واللعن الله على أعدائهم أجمعين قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقان الحميد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحان الذي أسرى بعبده ليلا من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى الذي باركنا حوله لنريه من آياتنا إنه هو السميع البصير آمنا بالله وصدق الله العلي العظيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the very first ayah of Surah Banu Israel, the 17th surah, that glory be to him who made his servant to go on a night journey from the sacred mosque to the remote mosque, of which we have blessed the precincts, so that we may show to him some of our signs. Surely he is hearing and seeing. Alhamdulillah, we have been granted this tawfiq to be able to celebrate this one of the most auspicious nights in the month of Rajab. And on this night, it represents two extremely important events. And we cannot say one is afzal than the other. Both are equally important and in rank. And although it took place, both the events took place between 5 and 10 years of each other, Allah in His infinite wisdom placed both these events on one particular night and day. The first is Ba'asat. 13 years before Hijrah, or 40 years of Amul Fil, Rasulullah was in the cave of Hira when thereafter he declared his nubuwa, his risala, and he came back to Makkah saying he was the prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A very unfortunate aspect of this particular event is that Muslims have differing opinions and narrations about this event. We will go through the Ba'asat part very quickly so that we can go to the next event, inshallah. The Ahl Sunnah in Sahih Bukhari quote Aisha, the wife of Rasulullah, that he was in seclusion in the Ghar of Hira when Jibreel came and he pressed Rasulullah very hard and told him to recite Iqra. And Rasulullah said that he cannot do it, so he pressed him very hard again, and this went on for 3 times, such that Rasulullah was almost out of breath. And then Jibreel told him to recite, and that is when he recited the first 5 ayahs of Surah Iqra. Thereafter he goes home to Khadija and is very anxious. He is in a state of fear, and he tells Khadija something is going to happen to me, and Khadija consoles him, gives him a blanket to cover, and the story goes on. To such an extent that Khadija calls her uncle Warqa bin Nawfal, who was a Christian monk, who comes to console Rasulullah and tells him that this is the same event that happened with Nabi Musa alayhi salam, and that you have now been appointed as a prophet. Our argument. We say in Quran, Allah in Surah Maryam says, قَالَ إِنِّي عَبْدُ اللَّهِ آتَانِيَ الْكِتَابَ وَجَعَلَنِي نَبِيًّا. Nabi Isa recited this verse on the very first 3 days, or the first or third day after his birth, as an infant, informing the Banu Israel that Inni Abdullah, I am a servant of Allah, Atani al-Kitab, I have come with the book that is knowledge, and Ja'alani Nabiya, and Allah has made me a prophet. Our question is, if Nabi Isa in his infancy knew that he had come with a kitab, that he was appointed a prophet, and that he was Abdullah, Rasulullah, who is Sayyidul Anbiya wal Mursaleen, did not know till Nawfal, a Christian, would tell him that he is a prophet? And Rasulullah did not know Jibreel, because the narration says about a jinn coming to Rasulullah, and that is why he was in fear about the jinn that had come to him. Rasulullah could not distinguish between Jibreel and the jinn. He is awwalu ma khalaqtu nuri. Allah, he himself says that my nur was created first, when there was nothing absolutely. And this is such a weak faith that Khadija had to console him, and a Christian worker had to tell him that he has now become a prophet. He did not know that he was a prophet. These concoctors of hadith forget some basic principles. Generally, we know that, and the narrations of the Ahl Sunnah tell us, that this first revelation was 13 years before Hijrah. Aisha, who is narrating this event, was 9 years old in Medina according to their account. Therefore, when this was revealed, when Iqra was revealed, Aisha was not even born. And this is how it is. And would Allah begin the journey of the best of His creation and the best of His books, the Quran, a living miracle that He was to reveal in such a manner? We cannot accept that sort of a narration. Now when we go to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, let us very, very briefly look at how he narrates the event in Nahjul Balagha, and he says, in those days Islam did not exist except in the house of Rasulullah, and the only followers were Khadija and myself. He says, I watched the effulgence of divine revelation and message and that breathed in the scent of prophethood in Rasulullah. When the revelation began, I heard a moan. Somebody crying very loudly, and when I asked Rasulullah, who is this crying? What is this moan about? And Rasulullah told me, this is the moan of shaitan, who has lost all hope in being worshipped with my declaration of Risalat. So we do not accept the narration that these people tell us about Warqa telling Rasulullah to have him become a prophet, nor do we accept the other extreme who say that Jibreel made a mistake. Instead of going to Ali, he made a mistake of going to Rasulullah. We do not accept both these extremes. We go with Amir al-Mu'mineen's version that Rasulullah was a Rasul. There was Islam in his house even before he declared Risalat, and that when he declared Risalat, Amir al-Mu'mineen was present with him. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We would like to discuss more on Mehraj today. Therefore, we will go on to the next subject, which is the second most important event for today. And that is the journey of Rasulullah to far beyond in the universe, where Allah takes him on a journey in the night to show him his signs. However, these two events are between 5 and 10 years apart. We are talking of the first Mehraj because ulama tell us that there have been a couple of Mehrajs that Rasulullah went to, but the very first one is what is being discussed, in which the command of Salat, the 5 daily Salat, was given to Rasulullah. Now, unfortunately, again in this event, there is a difference between the Muslims. Marhum Allama Sayyid Akhtar Rizvi Al-Allah Maqama has quoted that this journey has been narrated by the Ahl Sunnah through two sources. One is Aisha, the wife of Rasulullah, who says that the bed was warm when Rasulullah woke up and he was near her. And the other one has been recorded by Muawiyah ibn Abu Sufyan, that he says that Rasulullah went to the journey of Mehraj in a dream. We do not accept both. Because when Rasulullah went for Mehraj, it was in Makkah, where Aisha was not yet a wife of Rasulullah, and probably was not even born at that time or had just been born. And two, Muawiyah at that time, Ibn Abi Sufyan, was a staunch enemy and from the household of the staunchest enemies of Rasulullah and Islam, and had not accepted Islam until after Fateh Makkah, which was about 12 or 13 years later. We go with one thing just to answer this, and that is the hadith of our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, where he has clearly told us that anyone who does not believe in these three principles cannot be a Shia of ours. The three principles is first the Mehraj, which is a physical ascension of Rasulullah. Second is the questioning of Munkar and Nakir in the grave after death. And the third is the Shafa'at of Rasulullah on the day of Qiyamah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So what happened in Mehraj? Today we would like to look at some details of Mehraj, insha'Allah, which have been narrated by none other than Mullah Muhammad Faiz Kashani, an 11th century Ayatullah and an alim of the highest caliber, who has narrated this event. Mullah Faiz Kashani has titled and penned more than 200 titles, and he is known as the Muhsin of the Shias. Amongst his most prominent works is Tafsir as-Safi, which is an authority even in today's time in the Shia ulama. And the second one amongst his most unique works is Kitab al-Wafi, which is 14 volumes encyclopedia. Amongst his students Ayatullah Hure Amili, and Allama Muhammad Baqir Majlisi, the author of Biharul Anwar. And he has narrated the event of Mehraj in detail. There are very many details that he has put. This book, fortunately, has already been translated in the English language and is also available online. He says Rasulullah's historical journey began from the house of Hani, who was the sister of Amir al-Mu'mineen, the daughter of Abu Talib and the cousin of Rasulullah. And at that time, it came with Buraq. Buraq took Rasulullah from Masjidul Haram to Baytul Muqaddas and then to Masjid al-Aqsa. And in that various places were visited, and that Rasulullah was shown many of the signs. Now, when people say Mehraj took place in the sleep or the dream of Rasulullah, Rasulullah has mentioned a couple of things about Mehraj that in itself is a proof that it was a physical journey. Rasulullah says, during the Mehraj, I met with various prophets, I saw the angels, I went to heaven and hell that were shown to me, I was brought to the Arsh and reached Sidratul Muntaha. I also met people in heaven who were being showered upon with the blessings of Allah, and I also saw people in hell who were being punished by the harshest types of punishment. I was also informed as to why they were in such a state. This statement of Rasulullah tells us in itself that Rasulullah went and physically met these people and saw these events in a physical manner. The other objection that comes about Mehraj is, how could Rasulullah, who was a body made of clay, unfortunately this is how we honor our own Rasul, and they say that how can a body made of clay could have traveled into space? The ulama tell us that if the ayah of the Quran would have wanted to say that Rasulullah did not go physically, the word that would have been used was bi ruhihi, not bi abdihi. The very fact that Allah has used bi abdihi means that he went with spirit as well as the physical body. And then quoting our sixth Imam, Imam Jafar as-Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, he begins the event and he says that Jibreel, Imam has narrated this, that Jibreel, Mikail and Israfil brought the Buraq for Rasulullah. One of the three held the reins of the Buraq, while the other one held the saddle of the Buraq, and the third one held the clothing of Rasulullah so that he may mount and ascend on the Buraq. And when he sat on the Buraq began to tremble with having Rasulullah on its back. And then he says, Jibreel pointed to his hands towards the Buraq and said, "O Buraq, remember, keep calm before this noble prophet. No other prophet has ridden upon you, and there shall be no one even after him that shall ride upon you." It is at that time that Buraq became tranquil and took Rasulullah towards the heaven. Jibreel accompanied Rasulullah and they went passing through the earth. Rasulullah says now, Imam has narrated that Rasulullah says that from Masjidul Haram they went to certain places. The first place that they went, when Jibreel told him to recite Salat, was the place that Rasulullah says that was Tayyibah, which is known as Medina to us today. Then after another portion of journey, again Jibreel tells him, recite Salat here. And I got out from the Buraq, I recited Salat again, and I was told this is the Mount of Sinai where Allah spoke to Nabi Musa. Then we mounted the Buraq again and went to another place where Jibreel once again told me to recite salat. And when I asked him what that place was, he says, this is Baytul Laham, the place where Nabi Isa alayhi salam was born. Thereafter, Rasulullah says that we went forward towards the heavens. We reached a place where I met all the prophets, in which Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam were amongst them. I met the angels, and Jibreel asked all of us to recite salat, and the lines of salat were there when Jibreel placed his hand on my shoulder and told me to lead the salat, and I led the salat behind whom all the prophets of previous prophets, including the Ulul Azm, as well the angels recited behind me. And then there is another part of Mehraj. This is not in Surah Banu Israel. The Quran describes in detail about this particular part in Surah Najm. When Surah Najm is revealed at a time when the Quraysh were opposing Rasulullah from the very first word, when Rasulullah said, Qulu la ilaha illallah tuflihu, accept la ilaha illallah and you will be successful, and accept that I, Muhammad, is the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And in this surah, the first 18 verses is describing Mehraj, in which Allah swears by the star when it goes down, and He says that your companion does not err, nor does he go astray, nor does he speak out of desire. وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. He does not utter anything unless it is a wahi from Allah. Again, Marhum Sayyid Akhtar Rizvi Allah Makama talks about the major events that took place during the night of Mehraj and in this journey. He says that Rasulullah met all prophets, leading them in salat. He met the angels and leading them as well in salat. And then Jibreel accompanied Rasulullah up to Sidratul Muntaha, which is a place of the blessed tree. At that time, Jibreel tells Rasulullah that from this point I cannot move any forward. You will have to travel on your own. And Rasulullah thereafter ascended alone, beyond the reach and scope of any other creature. Allah took him towards the farthest place in the universe. And at this time, Allah Himself says that He reached the place which is Kaaba Kausain aw Adna, 2 bow lengths or even nearer. Now here, some of us will ask this question, that what is this place, the arsh that is being spoken about? Is it a physical place where Allah sits on a throne? No, that is not there. It is the highest place that Allah decided to talk to Rasulullah, where nobody went before him, nobody will go after him either. That is a level that is secluded and exclusively for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. At this place, Allah has communicated directly with Rasulullah, in which there were commands that were given to Rasulullah by Allah Himself. And the very first command, Sayyid Akhtar Rizvi has said, is that the appointment of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib as the Khalifa after Rasulullah. This appointment of Amir al-Mu'mineen would be declared on the day of Ghadir publicly, which is many, many years later. But it was told to Rasulullah on that day as well. Some of the signs of the Imam of our time, Imam al-Hujjah, Qaim Ali Muhammad Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, were also revealed to Rasulullah by Allah Himself. The event that we all know, that salat was made wajib, 5 daily salat was made wajib, the command was given to Rasulullah on this journey. On his way back, the same route that he came, the same route he was returning, that is when he was taken for the journey to be shown the signs of heaven and hell. In the book, there is a very interesting event that Mullah Kashani has written, which is worth mentioning here, that Abdullah ibn Umar, the son of the second Khalifa, has narrated that I heard when Rasulullah was narrating the events of Mehraj that somebody asked Rasulullah, with what voice did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speak to you in the night of Mehraj? And Rasulullah responded, my Lord spoke to me with the voice of Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayk. And he addressed me by saying, O Ahmad, I am an entity that is not like anything else. I cannot be compared to anything else. And I know all the secrets of your heart. With the exception of Ali ibn Abi Talib, you have no other close friend. Thus I speak to you with the voice of Ali so that your heart will be at ease. Now the question of going and traveling in space. Mullah Faiz Kashani has also addressed this point, and he says that there will come a time which we in our contemporary times have already heard and seen and have already experienced, in the sense that we know about the events. He says there will come a time that science will progress to such a level that they will travel in space. The ulamas explain that in 1957, when Sputnik was the first rocket that was sent beyond space and beyond the gravitational orbit of the Earth, it made it so easy for us to understand Mehraj, that if human beings could create equipment that would travel beyond gravity, that would travel in space, the problems of breathing in space were also solved, and the traveling was also made easy. What is it surprising that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls his Habib the most beloved, the awwalu ma khalaqtu nuri, to that travel without any equipment? There is no reason for us to even doubt for a moment that Rasulullah went physically. At the same time, we ask the Muslims, we ask the Jews and the Christians as well, that you believe in so many miracles of the prophets of the past. For example, Allah in Surah Saba tells us that Nabi Sulaiman used to travel a month's journey in the morning and a month's journey in the evening. This is an ayah of Quran of Surah Saba. We believe in Nabi Isa making a bird made of clay and making it alive. We believe in the converting of the staff of Nabi Musa that turned into a snake, or it even parted the sea for the safety and security of Banu Israel. We also, Muslims, believe that Rasulullah by his ishara of the finger split the moon. Not only that, he also called a tree that was firm in its place and showed the miracle of asking the tree to come to it, splitting it, sending it back twice and making it back to its original place. Yet we do not want to believe that Nabi Rasulullah went to Mehraj. The question marks are, is there too much mention of Ali that is having a problem? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Moving forward, the Quraysh, when Rasulullah came back, challenged Rasulullah, and it was their normal thing. Whenever Rasulullah told them anything, they would come up with so many things to challenge him. And they say in the Quraysh, when Rasulullah told the Quraysh everything that he saw and what he met and did there, the Quraysh, as an all-time habit, belied Rasulullah and says, prove it. In the gathering, a man stood up and said, if you really went to Baytul Muqaddas, is there anyone in this gathering who has been to Baytul Muqaddas, so we can ask Rasulullah to describe the pillars and the lights and the mihrab within the Masjidul Aqsa in Baytul Muqaddas? It is at this time that Sheikh Saduq in his book Al-Amali says that Jibreel descended and put in front of Rasulullah the entire picture of Baytul Muqaddas, and every question that the Quraysh asked, Rasulullah described it the way it is. And when it came to the questioning of whether he actually went or not, Rasulullah told him, on my way back from Baytul Muqaddas to Makkah, I met a caravan of Quraysh who had lost their camel, which was the most beautiful of their camel. And they were looking for it. And when I asked them, they said their camel was lost, so they were looking for it. I asked for a glass of water, from which I drank a little and put the other bag on the ground. And this caravan will come by sunrise tomorrow. You can ask them of whether they met me or not. It is at this time the Quraysh were waiting to belie Rasulullah, and they may not be waking up early in the morning, but on that particular day they were all there facing the eastward horizon to see that now it is getting to sunrise, there is no caravan coming. And as the sun went above the horizon, they saw the caravan which was led by the most beautiful camel, and the camel that was lost, that was found by this particular caravan that was. And then they asked it, did you see Rasulullah? And they testified that Rasulullah came to us, we found our camel, he drank water from us, and exactly described the way Rasulullah described that meeting. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on this grand night, Ya Allah, by the wasila of your Habib Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and by the wasila of your wali and the wasi of Rasulullah Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wassalam, and by the wasila of Fatima and Hassan al-Hussein and Ahlul-bayt alayhi salatu wassalam, Ya Allah, grant maghfirah to all those who have gone ahead of us. Ya Allah, grant shifa to all those who are sick amongst us. Ya Allah, grant us the tawfiq to be able to have iman in the narrations and the teachings of Rasulullah and the Ahlul-bayt alayhimus salam, and implement them in our lives. Ya Allah, by the wasila of the Panjatan and by the wasila of the Ahlul-bayt alayhimus salam, grant all the wishes and desires of all mu'mineen who are present here and who are not present here. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tahirin.